It began like any other morning for Vincent Hail, a billionaire whose reputation for cold precision and power stretched across the business world. He was en route to inspect a newly built factory on the outskirts of the city, a sight few in his company had ever even visited. But destiny had other plans for him that day. As his sleek black car rolled down a dusty road skirting an enormous landfill, the foul stench of rot seeped through the air. Vincent grimaced and lowered his window halfway, ready to tell his driver to speed up. But then, something caught his eye. Something that froze his breath. Amid the endless heaps of garbage sat a woman in a torn blue uniform, clutching a small, weeping boy. Her hair was tangled, her apron filthy, her eyes red and swollen. Yet her face seemed strangely familiar. Vincent leaned forward, squinting, and his heart lurched. It was Maria, his former maid. The same gentle woman who used to serve his breakfast each morning with a quiet smile. Now she sat in the dirt, holding her crying child as though the world had collapsed around her. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Every action helps stories like this one reach more hearts. Vincent didn't wait for the car to stop. He flung the door open and rushed out, dirt splattering his polished shoes as he ran down the slope toward her. The closer he came, the more unbearable the sight became. Her uniform shredded, her hands bleeding. The boy trembling in her arms, lips cracked with thirst. "Maria?" he called, his voice trembling. The woman looked up, startled. When her eyes met his, she froze. For a moment, neither of them spoke. She tried to rise, but her legs gave out beneath her. The little boy buried his face against her chest and sobbed. Vincent dropped to his knees beside them, his expensive suit brushing against the filth of the ground. But he didn't care. All that mattered was the raw, helpless pain on that mother's face. Over the next few hours, Maria's story unfolded, piece by heartbreaking piece. She had worked for Vincent for nearly 2 years. Quiet, kind, unfailingly polite. She never complained, even when her shift stretched late into the night. Then, one day, she disappeared. His assistant had said she'd resigned, leaving only a short note. Vincent hadn't thought much of it, employees came and went all the time. But now, hearing her trembling voice, he learned the grim truth. Maria's husband had died suddenly, leaving behind crushing debts. In desperation, she'd borrowed money from a ruthless lender to pay for his funeral and her son's medicine. When she couldn't repay it fast enough, the debt collector began stalking her home, threatening her safety. Terrified for her little boy, Theo, she begged her landlord for help. Instead, he threw her out. She tried contacting the agency that had placed her in Vincent's mansion, but they refused to pass along her message, claiming she'd already been replaced. With nowhere to go, Maria wandered the streets until she ended up here, scavenging through trash just to keep her son alive. Vincent's chest tightened with guilt. He was a man who could spend millions on a whim. Yet one of his own workers had suffered like this, unseen. The sight of her trembling hands, her child's hollow eyes, their frail bodies, it broke something inside him. He felt shame, yes, but also something deeper, compassion. Without hesitation, he lifted Maria and Theo into his car. The stench of decay lingered, but he didn't flinch. He ordered his driver to head straight to the nearest hospital. In the days that followed, Vincent visited them every morning. He watched as doctors cleaned their wounds, gave them food, and wrapped them in warmth. Little Theo began to smile again, gripping Vincent's finger shyly whenever he appeared. Maria, though, could barely meet his gaze. She kept whispering apologies, saying she never meant to cause any trouble. Each time, Vincent stopped her gently. He knew the real mistake wasn't hers. It was his blindness to the suffering around him. One evening, as the sun melted beyond the skyline, Vincent stood by the hospital window and thought. For years he had measured success through numbers. Profits, properties, deals. But watching Maria's fragile hand stroke her son's hair, he realized how empty it all was. His empire suddenly seemed meaningless beside the quiet act of saving a life. That night, Vincent made a choice. One that would change both their lives forever. He founded the Maria Hope Trust, a charity devoted to helping domestic workers trapped by debt, abuse, or homelessness. The organization provided shelter, healthcare, and education for their children. Maria, though hesitant at first, eventually became one of its coordinators, guiding other women towards safety and dignity. It took months for her to rebuild her confidence, but when she finally smiled again, Vincent felt something inside him thaw, a part of his heart he'd long forgotten. Then came the moment that changed everything. One afternoon, little Theo walked into Vincent's office carrying a drawing. In bright crayons, it showed Vincent, Maria, and Theo standing in a green field beneath a shining sun. Beneath it, in shaky letters, were the words, "Thank you for finding us." Vincent stared at it for a long time, eyes welling with tears. He had sealed countless deals in his life, but this small act of gratitude, was the greatest return he had ever received. From that day forward, Vincent transformed the way he ran his empire. He met every staff member personally, listened to their stories, and made sure no one in his company was ever invisible again. His once silent mansion filled with laughter. Maria continued to work there, not as a maid, but as the manager of his foundation. Theo attended school nearby, his future bright once more. When people asked Vincent why he dedicated so much of his time and wealth to charity, he would simply smile and say, "Because one day, I found someone in a place no human being should ever be. And that day, I found myself too." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Your support helps us spread more stories of compassion, redemption, and humanity. Before we close, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Vincent's place? And as the camera fades on Vincent, watching Maria and Theo laughing in the garden, the wind carrying their joy through the air, one truth shines clear. The richest people aren't those with the most money, but those with the courage to care.